So I'm just going to talk a little bit about me, because I think it's really important for you to understand why Rich very kindly asked me to come and do this workshop with you today, and for you to kind of understand why I would be talking about what I'm talking about as well, and how they might apply to you. So, first thing to say is I love being in any kind of educational context, whether that be a school or a college or a university. I actually did my master's at the University of York, and I also visit Emma at the Enterprise Centre here quite a bit as well. So I'm around quite a bit. I love the atmosphere and the feeling I get from being in this kind of situation, and I'm sure you guys feel the same too. This is where all of the genius happens. This is where the magic happens. This is where we bring on board loads of information, process it, and decide which bits you're going to choose, and actually talk it to move forward and create great things, wherever that may be. However, I left school when I was 16. I left home when I was 16. I decided to pursue my career in performing arts after being offered a job 3 times, and go and work as a dancer and a singer on a cruise ship. So that is so far removed from what I do now, or you might think anyway. Hello, thanks for coming. And I remember at the time a lot of people sort of having this discussion with myself and my parents about this. You can't do this. You're going to throw away all of your education. You're really bright. You need to stay at school and get your A-levels and study. And if you don't do it now, all is lost. You'll never go back. Well, I was determined that I would. But I've been given an opportunity to travel the world, get paid for it tax-free. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do that. So I went and did that for a couple of years. And then I decided, right, I've done that now, thanks very much. I came back home and decided I wanted to go to musical theatre school. Now, this was part of a plan in my mind. I trained as a dancer and singer, but I had no actor training because there was no such thing as drama at my secondary school whilst I was at school. That's how long ago it was. So I thought, if I do a course in musical theatre, they'll take me because I'm a dancer and singer and I've got the experience, but they'll also give me actor training as well. And I auditioned for musical theatre school at the Old Vic in London, went and did that, went off and did more performing, did a few tours of musical theatre, but I had some acting under my belt. So after a couple of years of more touring as a professional, I applied to go to Middlesex University to do acting, and that's what I did. So I'm there doing my acting, but I'm also working as a professional performer at the same time. And I got a national tour. So I left my degree for a year, I did a national tour, came back and then completed. So the reason why I'm telling you this stuff is because it's not linear. There isn't a straight line, and there isn't one in business either. So just stick with me for a little bit longer. I graduated, decided I was sick of having no money and being an artist, and I went and got a pub job. So I then went to be assistant buyer and merchandiser for Sweaty Betty. At the time, Sweaty Betty only had 5 people in mid office, and I was one of those people. It was a great time to be part of that organisation. I absolutely loved it, loved the people, loved them completely. But I hated sitting down for long, and unfortunately I had to do that. I had to sit down, and we were in a basement office beneath one of the shops. Like literally, I was there at the start on Fulham Road. And so I had to get out, I had to get up, I had to get moving around. And I left. I auditioned and I went on tour again for another year. I became a specialist in a certain performing arts form, which is mask theatre. And I ended up being a consultant mask practitioner. I worked for the Royal Shakespeare Company. I trained people like Patrick Stewart to work in masks, all the way down to 5-year-olds in schools. And I travelled an awful lot with that. I was extremely fulfilled doing it because it meant that I could go into a school one day, a theatre company the next day, and work with high-end performers and children at 5 years old who needed to build confidence, and everything in between. It was fantastic. I lived in London for the whole of this time, but by the time I reached 31, realised I wanted to be back in Yorkshire. So I came back to Yorkshire and I applied to do a master's at the University of York. So all the time, studying was really important to me. Even though I was left school at 16, I knew that it's something that I was going to do. So I'm doing writing, directing and performing arts at the University of York for 2 years. In those 2 years, I also have 2 children. I graduated with 2 kids and an award for highest achievement in a master's at the University of York. My second child was 3 weeks old when I collected my award. So then within 6 months, I also become a single parent. So I have like these 2 young children under the age of 3, all of this experience and knowledge, qualifications, and thinking, what the heck do I do? So I set up a business. I set up a storytelling business. I knew that I could do this really quickly because I had all of the skills to tell stories. I'd already worked in so many schools. I understood the system, how to reach out to schools and engage very quickly with that. And I was working with about 450 young people a week within a matter of 8 months. It nearly killed me because how do you have 2 young children and run a business? But I did it. I created the brand. I created all of the design, all the teaching and storytelling structures for different age groups. I did it all. I also wanted to get a PhD. So I applied for a PhD at University of York and I was accepted and was awarded a bursary to study full time. That was shelved up to 2 years because running a business and having 2 kids, it was just not going to carry on. I also realised that I could manipulate my work and my business around taking care of my kids. And this was really important to me. And I probably wouldn't be able to do that as a lecturer in a university. So I made a choice and I went back to the business and shelved the PhD. I struggled with the fact that I'd shelved that PhD for a long time because it felt like a failure, but it was actually one of the best decisions I could have ever made. I'm free at the moment to do what I want, when I want, because of my business. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. I did all of this stuff and had a business, which is now, that was Tailtastic Tent, which is now parked. And I have my new business, Honestly Speaking, which has been going on now for about 9 years. And I had never had to pitch until I had Honestly Speaking. So absolutely everything I've just done from scratch, through gritted teeth, using what I had at my disposal. Literally, I did that. I didn't have to pitch to anyone. But there comes a time when you have a baby, you have a business which is really important to you, which you know you want to grow and develop. And you're going to need investment or support in some way in order for that to grow and become bigger than it is. Okay. And I have reached that point at certain stages with Honestly Speaking. I don't want my baby to stay small, I want it to grow. And that's where pitching has come in. Luckily, I have the experience of having to pitch myself, having to create, found, and run a business myself. But also I have all of the speaking and presentation skills added to that. So let me just tell you a little bit about Honestly Speaking. Honestly Speaking came about through, well, I'd like to say it because I'm good at what I do, but also through a bit of luck. So I was teaching a young boy who was 10 years old, crippled with shyness, as I was when I was young, absolutely crippled with shyness, unable to speak. I worked with him and soon he was able to deliver speeches on speech day in front of an audience of 400 people. So his mum comes to me and says, right, I'm very good at my job. I am extremely qualified, but get me in a boardroom or have me stand up to present and speak in front of people. I can't do it. I choke up, can't use my voice, I can't command the room. Nobody sees me as a leader, so I'm not getting these leadership roles and I really want them. Will you help me? I've never worked with anyone outside of the performing arts industry before. So I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go. So I said, yeah, I'll work with you in my living room. So I'm a voice technician as well. So any issues with projection, any stammers, any stutters, looking at light and shade and how we speak, all of those things, I work with all of those things, as well as stagecraft. Why didn't I do all those things? I did that in my living room with her twice. I looked at her presentation, I advised her on that. She was promoted. Within another 3 months, she was promoted again. She then had 600 members of staff beneath her. She then identified other people beneath her that needed my support in order for them to get promoted or to thrive in their career. So I went in and started working with those people. This happened to be the NHS, and I still work with them now. This lady is our director of people and culture within the NHS, and I'm proud to still have that relationship with her. As I started to go in and work with these people, I realised I could teach them all the stuff about speaking, but I needed to help the actual individual and improve their mindset, help them to consider why on earth they're going on this journey to improve their speaking skills in the first place. Because if you really actually you don't want to speak and you can get around it and you can avoid it, you're going to do that. So you have to be determined to use your voice to get you to where you want to be. And I knew that actually these people needed to look at themselves first. So I then went and trained fully as a personal development coach and an NLP practitioner to bring those skills on board to support all of my other assets. I've been doing that in honestly speaking for 8 years, which is why I now work with large corporations, individuals, and educational settings. And that's why I'm here today. So today is all about pitching. I want you to think about all of the things I've talked about as I've introduced myself and consider which angle you want to come up to this at, because there's more to it than just pitching. If anything has sort of come to your mind and you've thought, do you know what, I really want to ask her about that thing as well, absolutely do it. You can do it in the session, you can ask me afterwards. I'm also going to share all my contact details with you, and I am really, really happy to chat with you about anything and share my knowledge. It's what I do, so please ask. Okay. I also have some connections as well in this room, which I might tell you about a little bit later. It's made me very happy to be here this morning for more reasons than I expected. Okay, so let's first of all consider why you want to pitch perfect. Okay, so why are you here to pitch? I'm actually going to write this down. Yeah. A little bit, the flip charts come a little bit late to the party, so excuse me while I'm manhandling it. And somebody obviously had a tour that was more interesting than mine, all about the stomach. We won't be talking about that today. Although I do do a very mean diagram of the mouth and the vocal cords. We won't be doing that either today. Thankfully, I brought my own pens, so very. Okay, so I'd really like to know from you why you're here and why you want to know about pitching. This time looks like
You get one chance.
yeah,
One shot
yeah, one chance.
to convince somebody to invest either their time or their money in your idea or what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, okay.
Constant action.
Yeah. First impressions.
How do I know I am nailing it?
How do you know you're?
How do I know I am doing well at pitching what I am
Yeah.
saying to?
Thanks, Martina.
Hello.
Really like this. This is great. Keep asking questions from the. Yeah. Thank you. How do you know you're doing well? Good.
You make connections.
Anything else?
It's okay, we'll joke with self-confidence.
For any business.
I'm interested, who in this room has a business that they want to grow already? Fantastic, great. That means, the reason why I ask that is because it means you're going to start to put some of this stuff into practice straight away. And the sooner you start doing it, the better. What else?
Body language, dressing.
Oh, gosh. That feels like another workshop. But I will cover that briefly, yeah. Anything else? Anything else?
Idea of whether or not you might be able to. Yeah.
Mm.
Trial and error, it's rehearsal, it's practice and.
Sentence openers.
Another one, just only because I've got that gap there now. Anything else?
We're high risk doing like pitches and stuff. So same kind of same to the one chance thing. It's to reinvest in your company and stuff, and say, yeah, you've got this massive opportunity to achieve something. If it doesn't work, then obviously you're gonna have to start again, but you have to really reconsider everything you've done. And also it's an opportunity potentially.
Yeah, I'm going to think about that. Because I've had to think about this an awful lot when investors come along to me and I thought, do I actually want the investment? Yeah, I want the investment because I want to grow and I want to grow fast. But what is the risk? At the end of the day, if that investor doesn't invest, they go away and they don't have what you've got. You've still got it. So I would say, instead of high risk, let's say high stakes, because it really matters to us, our growth, but it's not the end of the world if it's not a yes on that day, because there's other stuff. Yeah, good, okay. Well, that is a lovely long list. So I am going to try and get through a lot of this today. Now, we have a short workshop. I can't get through it all, but I will certainly do my best. And again, if there's stuff still hanging in the air and you really want to ask me about it, feel free to ask me afterwards or another time, okay? So the first thing that we're going to start with is this. Right. This is the point where everybody in the workshop and at home goes, oh my God, this is the boring. Okay. First things first, in order for you to pitch well, to pitch with clarity, to articulate yourself well, and to be confident, you need to know the language of your business inside out. You need to be absolutely sure who your customers are, how you're solving their problem, where you see your business heading. Yeah? How will you get money between getting what you really want and where you are now? How will you increase the revenue? You need to know all of this stuff because the investor will ask you. So you might get a really pretty pitch together and it'll look beautiful, but if you don't know all of the stuff and they ask you a question, they'll go, they're not ready yet. because they haven't got all of their data. They haven't got all their ducks in a row. It's not the right time to invest. So you really do need to do the groundwork. Now, this I'm introducing to you because it's the most simplified and quickest version of a business model. It's on one page, the lean business model, okay? Now, I had a business plan. And by the way, I'm being really open and honest with you here. So I have a successful business that I love, but I know that there is always a lot of room for improvement. So in January, I decided, I didn't have to do this. I decided to put myself backwards and go into another launch program to revisit all the aspects of my business to check that I was sure I was going in the right direction. Okay, so I went back and did the lean business model only this January. Yeah, it's so brilliant. Actually, by doing this kind of work, you feel really free because you can park it to one side and know that you're on the right track once you've revisited it. So if you've already done it, great. If you're really sure, great. If you think you know exactly what to say to investors, great. But if you don't, I suggest you go back to this. Okay, I'm actually going to give you a copy of this and for you to make notes and answer some of these questions right now, because it's going to get your head in the right zone for us to move on and write our short and long pictures, which we're going to do later in this session. Okay, so here is, now if you want to keep this sheet as a nice neat copy, you can always write the headings in your notebook and also keep it in your notebook. So do whatever you want to do. So obviously, the first thing that you want to be looking at is what are your customers' biggest pains that you can alleviate, or the biggest gains that you can create. So how can we do that? Write that down. Yeah. Have they got the slide at home?
Yeah, they should be able to see the screen, so they can just copy the screen.
Yeah, so if you're at home and you've got this on your screen, you should be able to copy this down. We should actually, what I did, because when I did revisit a launch program, it was all online, which was fantastic. If you're just making notes at home, that's great. So we don't want to spend too long on this, and we won't do every single box, we'll do the important ones. So solution, what will you do to solve their problem or to create this gain? What will you do? What does your business do? I'll tell you why I really love this exercise, because I knew the answers to these questions. But when I asked myself them again, I realised I needed a better answer and I needed more clarity in my answer. And a great way to test this is to tell people I solved the problem by doing this. And then for that person to challenge you and go, yeah, but how to do that? Yeah, but what does that mean for me? Because then it would really help you to drill down on exactly what it is you can do to help solve the problem. This is really all of your marketing, networking, everything. It helps you find a really good, strong body of language to help you describe your business and what you do. So your unique value proposition. So for example, we help X achieve X by providing your unique offering. So unfair advantage is a really cool one. So what makes you special? What do you have that can't be bought or copied? So if you think about that unfair advantage, what have you got? What's so special? And the investor will want to know what's so different about you. Why would I invest in you for this? Existing alternatives. Don't worry if you don't manage to complete all of this, because you obviously will be able to complete that home. It's just to get your mind into it, and also you're going to find you're going to be answering some of these questions as we go through the workshop. I just want to make sure that we do fit it all in today, and that there's time for us to cover as many bases as possible. So you have this template now. Looking at existing alternatives, who else is solving this problem? So who are your competitors? So recently, I was working with a girl who was pitching new fitness gear, and she was talking about the structure and the fabrics, and literally the investor just turned around and weirdly used Sweaty Betty as the example, said, okay, so Sweaty Betty already do this at the price point which is similar to yours, what's different? And she really struggled. So she hadn't looked at her competing market and found what was different for her. So the next challenge for her was to go away and look at how her offering was unique, different, and could compete in the market. I think, interestingly, what is really useful for your pitch, and is a really good thing to have, is cost. What will it cost to deliver your solution? So you really need to work out your business costs. Know what your business costs are right now, and that's everything. Your stationery, your fuel, your parking, your networking, your memberships. Not just all of the other stuff you're going to purchase, absolutely everything. How much is it costing? Really get to grips with your numbers. And it's so funny, ironic that I'm saying this, because I hate the figures. I'm not the numbers person. I'm a creative. I'm a people person. I'm a talker. I teach presentation skills. I hate the numbers. But knowing my numbers, getting to grips with them, has meant that I'm more confident about my own business. I'm more calm about the figures. And I can put them to one side and move forward. Incidentally, as your business grows, you will find that there are other people that can do the job better than you. So I also have an admin assistant who now deals with my accounts and just tells me things. Makes it a lot easier for me, and I can spend my time doing something more important. But it is really, really important that you know your figures. They're going to say to you, how much is it costing you? And what specifically do you need the money for? It's also really brilliant because you'll get to that point, and you go, well, I need the money for this, and then you'll go, well, do I want an investor? Do I want them to invest in my business and for me then to be responsible and give them a portion of my income? Is there a way around it where I can finance myself? Once you know your numbers, it might be possible, and if it is possible, it might be you don't need your investment right now. Yeah. You don't want to be in a situation where you're borrowing or taking on investment for you to then have to give a percentage of your income to somebody else unless you really, really need it and want it. Yeah? Okay. So there are other things in there. I would love you to answer all of those questions, but the ones that I've touched upon should by now have got you into the right kind of mindset to consider how you are going to write and deliver your perfect pitch. So we're going to move on. Everyone okay at home? Any questions?
So,
No questions so far. Okay. So hopefully this will have helped you get a little bit closer to answering these questions, but I would like you to now answer them. Your purpose. Why do you, your business, exist? Vision. What's the end goal? Think of your future. Your mission. How are you going to achieve it? How are you going to achieve your mission? What is important to you? So knowing your values. So if you were here yesterday, I know that the speaker yesterday spoke about values. My business is called Honestly Speaking because my number one value is honesty. So if I can't stand in front of you and be totally honest about myself and about the things I know and give you honest feedback, there is no point in me doing what I do. Honesty is so valuable to me that it's in my business name. What's valuable to you and how do you align those values with your business? If you do this, you'll be a happy business owner. If you don't do this, you'll feel out of line, out of whack, and it'll be very uncomfortable for a very long time until you decide to do something else which feels good. Know your values. Help other people to understand your values. Stick by them. You're going to find as well that people will want to knock you off track a little bit, and you might feel sometimes that you might compromise a little bit on those values. Be very, very careful before you make that decision. Okay, impact. The measurement of how you will change the world. What is your impact going to be? So, some of you are writing notes about that, but I want you to have the opportunity to have a little bit of a chat. So I would really like it if you guys could have a chat about the questions on this board, and if you two could chat, and you as well, if you like to chat, the three of you, and you two have a conversation about these things. You're very quiet, makes a noise. And at home, if you want to continue to consider these things and make note, but also if you've got any questions about them or thoughts that you want to share with the group, please put those into the chat and Rich will share them.
so with you. Well, yes, and this is, I believe that you wasn't to anybody wants to shoot how we want to. Just like everyone will do that, and most of you know, in some ways.
Like, don't much of it, just sometimes to find it, like, it's like 10 minutes. Also, not to answer about the already. Like, instead, doing this to be.
Get it.
Like, that's the transition, like,
Yeah, it's that, it's, anything we got, like, it's like, yeah, like, now, it's a content, it's what's that? So I'm thinking that's in Scotland. So it's how you measure it. It's nice when you want to kind of use it. You know, it's more.
Okay, all right, so. My way. Somebody talk to me a little bit about their purpose, so why their business exists.
My business exists to create a world where technology is not used against the people, because we can see many data breaches, many all our phones and literally all our lives, and corporations are just getting into that and using it to their advantage, right? So my purpose is to create complete transparency using different types of technology and security for people, big companies and corporations as well.
Yeah, because it's really difficult to monitor such a useful tool as a phone,
Yeah.
but we need to, don't we?
Yeah.
Good. Fantastic. Can anybody talk about their vision? What is their end goal? Does anybody have a dream for what their business is going to look like in the future?
Let's have a social media agency, but I'd like to expand quite a large kind of area and stuff. So I mean, like different offices in different cities or country, little hubs and stuff where we can kind of manage all the social media in house, expand into like search engine stuff, and just have a big advertising agency, I guess.
Yeah.
So obviously, social media is still quite a new thing in the marketing of brands and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get quite ahead of it, kind of be a leader in that industry, helping a new brand shop.
Brilliant. That just made me, so many questions came into my head, but we'll be all there if I started with that. Good, thank you, brilliant. So, how are you going to achieve your mission? Has anybody thought, oh, I'm going to achieve it this way? I'm going to do X and this is how I'm going to do it. Anybody talk about that? This is the important thing. How are you actually going to do it? Yeah.
I actually, and actually we were talking about earlier on, the more you end up writing about what you want to do, you eventually see everything and then you sort of pare it down into a couple of sentences. So after doing all of that, for this Discover Club, I'd like to do mobile aerial photojournalism, which means that I'm going to work remotely I'd like to be able to live small, to be able to travel around and do that.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to use the fund to buy a drone and do drone photography. And what's in the technology aspect that we were mentioning of how to use technology responsibly.
Yeah.
And I want to do combinations in that because I've got my journalism degree, I'm studying photography as a master's, so I'm trying to combine the two. So about the mission, I'm hoping to use the money to get a drone in practice and start to do the qualifications and those. I'm doing a study abroad semester, so it means that I'm going to be living and studying in another country to see that if the opportunity arises to go abroad post graduation, I have a rough idea of how to go through the hundreds of documents that you've got to go through for visas and all those different things. And hopefully next year, I'm going to start thinking about applying for the launch fund next year, having a year to practice with the equipment and get to grips of the different regulations in other countries for those types of operations. And that is the plan until at least next year. Not beyond that yet. But the thinking is really some sort of company that allows me creative freedom and financial freedom, so that if I can live small and travel lightly, I'm not worrying about that paycheck at the end of the month. It's a lot less of a worry to allow just more freedom to actually do what you want to do, what you study for.
Yeah. There's something in there which I really love, because I think living small is key when you're growing a business. So we often think about all of the fancy things we should have in order to compete with sort of the successful business owner, the big CEO with the nice car and all of the trappings of the fancy suit, etc. in a networking meeting, feeling like you're an imposter if you don't match that. But actually, when you're starting out a business, it's really smart to think, how do I live small so that I can invest all of my money in my business so that it can grow? It might be that you want to always live small and that your earnings go elsewhere. It might not even be invested back into your business. It might go elsewhere. But don't get caught up in trying to be like the next big wealthy CEO and have all of the trappings, because you don't need it. And at the moment, whilst you're building, it's wasting money. Yeah. Instead of paying out X amount on a fancy car every month, that could be going into your business and creating a system which brings in 10 times more than that. Okay, so living small, I absolutely think that is a brilliant idea. Absolutely fantastic. The drone idea, all of it, I really love it. And it's good that you know how. Yeah.
Also,
It changes as well. I love that. Yeah. So that is another thing actually. And I was saying to Rich earlier, oh my God, it's never linear. If you think about the reason why I've told you my story is because if you met me at 16, I was never going to be somebody who owned their own business and did what I do today. It's never linear. There are twists and turns, but what I like to think of is skill stacking along the way. So what I've tried to do is always think about, if I see something of interest, I think, is it useful? Is it going to contribute to my overall ability and capability to achieve the outcomes I want to achieve in life? And if it's a yes, and I wholeheartedly want to do it, I do it. Okay, so I don't limit myself. I'm a skill stacking person. Yeah. So if training as a coach and being a qualified coach matches with all of the expertise around presentation skills training, then of course I'm going to bring those two things together, and that's exactly what I did. If going on a business course is going to help me grow a business and help inform other people and guide other people in business, of course I'm going to go and take the course. Yeah, so I'm skill stacking all of the time. Yeah, it's a great way to work. Also, it sets you apart, makes you unique. So a lot of people will do what you do. What other skills and capabilities do you have to bring to that which make you unique? An investor is interested in that. Yeah. Okay. So what is important to your values? Did anybody talk about what's really important to them and what is non-negotiable? A red line that they will not cross in accordance with their values. No? You like you've got a thought?
Yeah. It's hard I'm finding it hard to nail everything down. I think, especially because I think for me, it's my business is more of like a community interest business.
Yeah.
So it's not so, I'm not particularly motivated by money at all.
Good, yeah, fine.
I suppose I'm motivated more by social justice and politics
Yeah,
than I am cash, although that's important because I need it to live. So
Yeah.
I can't do what I do for free.
yeah,
So I'm finding it kind of, it's difficult because what's important to you and your values kind of, I suppose it's, for me, I need to work out a way of presenting my values without appearing too political, because I don't want to put people off.
Mhm.
I want to be able to deliver a service that is paid for, or I get funded from the council or whatever, to develop or to set up a group of vulnerable people, or do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I need to kind of work out, really nail down on all of that in a way that doesn't put people off.
Yeah. Okay, so there's quite a lot in there. First of all, I'm hearing conflict between knowing that you need cash, but not wanting that to be the thing that you ultimately ask for or want.
Yeah.
And that is something, a really, really important aspect for you to get to grips with really, really quickly. Because you're not motivated by money, you are not ruled out of this whole conversation with regard to business and growth and pitching at all, because there are so many of us that are not motivated by money. Ultimately, I'm not motivated by money, but I need to be paid really well for what I do so that I can survive and continue to do it. Yeah. Also, by being paid well, I'm able to volunteer my time to help other people in certain areas of their life and mine for free. But I had to get to a point before I was able to do that. Okay. So we all have our different reasons for needing cash. We all need it. And I think as soon as you find a place where you're really settled with it, you feel an awful lot happier. The other thing is the political views thing. Now, there are a number of camps here. One is every business needs a niche. So you might find that having really strong political views in a certain area will get you a certain audience. They're loyal followers because you stick by it and you're unwaveringly, your views are unwavered and they're never going to change, and those people will follow that. So that could be a good thing. But if you want to please everyone, you might get a watered down version. You might get a little bit of a mix, and who knows what's going to go from there. But you might not necessarily get that hard, fast, loyal following that you're looking for. So it's deciding, it's being very specific and strategic about what you want, isn't it? So I would say a day spent really challenging yourself, having another business owner, a best mate, a coach, someone as a sounding board for you to get all of this out and then bring it all back down again so you know your language. Because you want to be able to stand in a room full of people, wherever that may be, if it's in networking or in a pitch, and say, this is what is important to me. My value is this, therefore I get paid this so that I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And clearly as anything, without apologizing, without feeling conflicted, because that is when you're on the road to getting what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Feel better now. Thank you.
Impact, the measurement of how you will change the world. This might be a good one for you. So how the heck are you going to change the world? What is your impact going to be? Do you have an answer for that? Hang on a minute. Hang on. Do you mean you just do art? I disagree. I totally disagree. So
I've seen you like that, it's very interesting.
Okay,
We need it in the world.
yeah, we need art in the world. Would you mind just telling me a little bit more about your business idea?
So, I'm sending yours, but I do try.
Yes.
In the future, I kind of do things. I like to do workshops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I should not work for myself. I don't.
Okay, so you want to make rugs,
Yeah.
you want to work for yourself, and you want to deliver workshops. Right, keep it simple. All right, if you'd have said to me, I'm an artist, I make the most amazing rugs. Okay, these rugs eventually could be shipped all around the world. I can teach other people to do it. Yeah, I can research various fabrics. I can look at recycling fabrics, all of that kind of thing to make it better for the planet. But ultimately, I want to do it because I love it. I go, that's really strong. Yeah, and it's only just keep it simple. Simple is impressive. Doing what you love is impressive. There are a lot of wealthy businessmen and women out there who are unhappy doing something they really don't want to do. Yeah, and all the money in the world isn't making them happy. Yeah, if you find a business that you love that sustains you, that is success. Yeah, it's valid and important. Yeah.
Just, can I just, Martina who's online, I'll read
Yeah.
the chat. I know Martina attended the session yesterday, so we attended. Her business is an SEO business.
Yeah.
Services rather, so to achieve our mission of empowering SMEs and startups through exceptional SEO services, client-centric approach, prioritize understanding our clients' unique needs, goals, and target audience. By conducting thorough research and analysis, we develop customized SEO strategies tailored to their specific requirements. Our client-centric approach ensures that our services align with their objectives and deliver the desired outcomes.
Good, there's some really brilliant stuff in there. And I can see what you've done. You've kind of answered all of the questions really, really clearly. I totally believe you, but I'm also going to push you to come back to me and the group with a convincing answer to what sets you apart from anybody else that does this. When people ask me that question, I go, I don't know, but it's a good one because an investor will ask. Oh, go on.
So basically what sets me apart is that most small businesses and startups do not have the resources to afford an SEO specialist or SEO expert. But I am here my business is here to fill that gap where we are meeting the startups and SMEs at the budget, at their own budget. So we're not just giving them a price, but we're working with what they have and we're providing top-notch quality for them. We're giving them the same thing, the same level of excellence that the companies that charge higher would have done. So I am providing excellence for a small amount. Basically, that's what sets me apart.
Okay, great. Now, and how do you do that? How do you afford to do that?
Okay, so because SEO does not require so much, so I have the software already. It doesn't require so much to implement. So if I am working with a startup, for me, the satisfaction I'll get is when a startup is able to get that visibility or they're able to compete with larger businesses at that's the fulfillment I get as a person when I have done a job and they are able to get that same fulfillment, that same visibility, I mean, that any other company would have gotten without breaking the bank because they don't have the money anyway.
Yes, brilliant, great. And that all sounds brilliant and you sound really sort of at peace with that. So are you, and I might not be able to carry on this discussion for much longer, but I do have another question for you, which you might want to take away and think about is, are you wanting to scale your business? And if so, how will you scale? You want to have a think about that one?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, good. Okay, great. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, moving on. So here are some examples of some very well-known brands who talk about their business in their marketing. So our purpose, creating better days and a place at the table for everyone through our trusted food brands. Our vision, a good and just world where people are not just fed, but fulfilled. Okay, so that's Kellogg's purpose and vision in 2 sentences. How do you narrow yours down? Okay, Apple, our purpose, we build products to empower everyone. That seems very broad, doesn't it? Our vision, to make the best products on earth and leave the world better than we found it. Again, very broad. At some point, they had to draw down and get very specific on individual products, but that is their purpose and vision. Boom, done. The only way we can believe them is by seeing the proof. Then it comes out in the product, doesn't it? Okay. So it's worth thinking about that. In a sentence, how can you describe yourselves? We're going to look at some pictures. So basically, what we want to do is think about a number of pictures. So this is pitch 1. So say you're in a situation like this with people that you don't know. You don't really know who's in the room, but when you've got people in a room, there's an opportunity. Always. Okay. It could be that you're at networking. It could be that you're in a membership group. It could be any situation. And somebody says, ah, so who are you? What do you do? Boom. Answer the question. Have it ready and rehearsed and learn in your back pocket so it rolls off the tongue really easily. And then a conversation can come from it. Be really concise and confident. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to very quickly answer this. Hi, I boom, 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 have a business called da, 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 da. I change lives by doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And I do it like this. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I or we do it. Very quickly, can you jot that down for me? Bearing in mind, you've just actually written quite a lot of this stuff down in your lean business model as a starter.
You say this is going to, you just, it has to
Your
be a
name.
bit of purpose.
It might be your business, but
Usually
usually,
it's like a bit of concentration on this from here. This is
yeah. Hi, I'm Steve Jobs from Apple. I changed the world with computers. Such a useful exercise, all of this stuff. I'm saying it as someone who goes back and reevaluates my own language on a regular basis when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just having clarity so that when you speak to people, they can fully understand and appreciate what you do. It's really, really important in business. So even if we've done it before, it's great to visit it again and again and again. Have you all got something? Yeah. Give you another 30 seconds just to finish up. whilst I'm just giving that a little bit of time, when you write something like this, it's a first draft. Okay, and you might rewrite it quite a few times until you come up with something that you're really, really happy with. Do you know what? You might be happy with it for 6 months, a year, 2 weeks, a month. Because, as I've said to you before, and you know this, your business journey isn't linear. And in the world that we're in at the moment, things are changing all the time, and you might find that you have to pivot and you have to do something slightly different, and therefore your pitch will change. Okay, so you're not just going to choose one way of speaking right now, choose one pitch right now, and that'll be it. You're going to find that you're going to have to redo this, but you're going to get better and better at it as time goes on. Yeah, this is great practice. So if you say something to me right now, give me a pitch right now, and it's not 100% what you want it to be, don't worry. You can change it. The fact is, you're here doing it and thinking about it. You're already making progress, and you're already ahead of all those people who haven't got a clue about how to talk about their business. I was one of those people. So I set up my business with no business knowledge whatsoever. Do you remember? It's a lady coming into my living room and I teach her something and she goes, "That's amazing." She gets promoted and then invites me in. And then I go, "I've got a business. I need to sell myself." So I go to a networking meeting. I had no idea how to talk about my business. I just wanted people to understand and to know what I did, and just to like go easy on me and please somebody just give me some work. Yeah. I didn't know how to say, this is what I do. This is what you're going to get from me. Yeah. And people make a mistake to go anywhere else. Yeah. I had no idea. I had to go through the processes and find my language. So what you're doing today is fantastic. What you've done before, great. What you'll do in the future, even better. Just keep doing it. All right. So who can tell me their pitch? I am, this is what I do. This is how I do it. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ben. I help small businesses to get a wider range of customers and increase their profits. I do it through managing their social media and brand identity that make it best work to get a wider reach online, direct customers towards their websites and our physical store.
Brilliant, that last bit. So we need to drill that down, yeah? And remember, on this one, yeah, we build products to empower everyone, yeah? Creating better days and a better place at the table for everyone. How do you make it really punchy and appealing? Yeah, you get 7 seconds to make an impact. Okay. After about 11 seconds, the person listening to you goes, hands in. Something like that. Yeah, the brain goes on to something else, and we can only receive so much information at a time. So if your pitch, oh, I've gone the wrong way. If your pitch is nice and short with fewer words, the person listening to you is more likely to be able to receive the information, process it, and remember it. Yeah? So fewer words. Okay. Pitch 2. This is a longer version. This is your longer version. Take a photograph of it if you want to, if you don't want to. Actually, does anybody want to take a picture of that one?
But the PowerPoint slides.
I can send someone on to you. Yeah. Okay, so name of your company, what you're developing or offering, who you're going to help, what is your defined audience, yeah, where, how do you solve their problem, with, what is your USP or your unique value proposition, which we're working out in your lean business model. So this is longer, the pitch too. We might come back to this, but there are some other things I want to cover. And I think it's going to take a little bit more brain power than you have right now in this room. So we're going to move forward on something else. take that away and work on it. It's going to be really useful. But the information that I've stated here in this slide is really, really important for this. And now we get onto the actual pitch, the pitching to an investor. All right. It's worth us thinking about the kind of investor that you think you might want, or the various kinds of investors that are out there. So they're gonna always, what we think about first is investors who are going to give you money. Okay. What other kinds of investors could there be?
Partnerships, like people who work with you.
Yeah, so they work with you.
Volunteers.
Volunteers, so investing their time. Yeah. How else might they invest?
Resources.
Yeah, they might offer resources. Yeah.
A reputation.
Yeah. So it might be a great sponsor for you. How else? So I've actually pitched for introductions and referrals for the kind of client that I want. Yeah. You might find that you're also pitching for business. So you're actually pitching to a client to give them the work. Okay, so your pitch will need to be altered according to who you're pitching to and for what. When we say that the journey is never linear, oh my God, like don't ever expect to have got your pitch perfect and for it to be exactly what they want, because you know what? The amount of times I've pitched and they've gone, okay, and maybe you could add in like who you've been working with on this specific topic or project. Oh my God. Now you've got to go back and get that bit of information. Or they'll go, exactly what are your projected figures for 2024? And you're like, well, I've given you what's like, you know, there's always something, okay? So stay loose with it, but gather as much information as you possibly can and be ready, okay? What I found is I have like one major pitch which talks all about my business and what I do and what I can offer. And then for an investor, I've got charts which say my turnover right now and what I project it could be in 5 years' time. For others, I've got my strategy for growth. So what products and services do I aim to include and how will I do it? You know, all of these different things. Another slide with all of the logos on all of the businesses that I've worked with, just because some people are impressed by that. Others say I don't need to see all that. Yeah, so shift, move around these slides and move them in and out, but have it all there and ready to go. Yeah. However, let's just say we are going to drill down on a 5-minute presentation and you are going to be pitching for some investment. Your pitch should have, if it's a 5-minute pitch, yeah, about 45 sentences. Sounds ridiculous, but if you were to record you speaking 45 sentences, short ones with 130 words per minute, into your phone and recorded it, you'd probably get about 5 minutes. Okay, 650 words. I've tested this quite a few times, and I have found that if I work to around 600 words, I'm really happy because I always come in under the 5 minutes and I've got room to play around or answer an interruption or a heckler or whatever it might be. Okay, so I worked around 600 words for my 5-minute presentations, and you want to be looking at 6 slides maximum. You might think that you have got loads of information that you need to share on a slide. Always remember, an investor is investing in you and your business, not your fancy slides. So they need to be able to connect with you the person, the unique proposition from this business, you, yeah, they connect with that, and not all of the fancy jargon and words on the slide. That takes the focus away, and they're stuck trying to read that slide, and they've forgotten about you. And all of those words suddenly mold into, it's another business wanting money. So be really careful about what you put on your slides. Now then, any ideas for what could go on a slide? Yeah. Okay, so tell me, what might be a really smart way to display your figures and statistics? Charts, colours and charts, okay? It might even be that you get to a point where the chart suddenly becomes irrelevant and you can go, ah, that is 60%, that is 40%. Those are the two figures that are going to go up on the slide. The rest of it, they can get in a handout or an email, or they can ask me for figures later. Because the most important bit is this. So it might find you do all that work and you go, actually, what do they really need to know right now in this short space of time that I've got? Okay, so if we're thinking about pitching on Friday, this is what you want to be thinking about in your 5-minute presentation. Yeah, those slides, the least amount of them as possible on them. What else could you put on your slides?
Photography of either the work or previous work.
Exactly. For
That's
you.
if I'm showing people the work that I've done, or parts of the work that I've done on the top end. And
Yes.
It's not words on the screen, it's sort of more work that we're producing.
Yeah. So for you, it's ideal. You can show your absolutely amazing images which reflect the work that you do. So something which is a product of drone work as well would be really useful. And how that has helped one of your customers to achieve X.
I think also showing them when it goes on Instagram or TikTok or in what various formats, so that they are looking at the screen and they're looking at it as a customer.
Yeah, yeah. If that is relevant for them, yes, absolutely, yeah. With your images, you can be really smart and you can think, right now, how is this image reinforcing my language? We all need to think about that, but you can think about this specifically with your images. Always be thinking, how does the image on the slide on the screen behind you reinforce what you're trying to say? Always. Okay. What else could go on your slide?
Your vision, values, perhaps.
Yeah. Again, I would probably think about an image which helps to reinforce your vision. What does that look and feel like? Often an image which creates emotion within the audience really, really helps them to engage. So if your audience is emotionally connected to your presentation, they are more likely to remember it, remember you, and want to know more and invest. Yeah, if they're not emotionally connected, they're less likely to want to invest in you. Yeah. So people think that the emotion bit is the soft bit, the silly bit that's not required. It's the big bit. It's the major bit. It's the thing we all need. Yeah. So just to sort of unpack that a little bit, I'm going to use something that I've experienced recently to try and describe it a little bit better. So I often talk about how leaders speak well or not, and I reflect on that. So Radio 5 Live have my telephone number and they call me up often to talk about how leaders are speaking. So they asked me to talk about what I thought of Rishi Sunak when he became our PM. Now that was unfortunate, wasn't it? Because leading up to that point, he was fairly popular. even if you were a Conservative, you thought, yeah, well, he's all right. He came across quite well on TV alongside Boris Johnson during COVID. Yeah. In fact, do you know, if we're going to have someone right now, it might be better if it was him. You know, that feeling was kind of around. It was floating in the air. Everyone sort of felt all right. He becomes PM. The minute he does, he reads from a teleprompter on screen and sounds like a robot and also looks like one, reading off a collection of words that he thinks this country wants to hear. And straight away the media jump on it and go, oh my God, he can't even speak to us. He's robotic. What have we done? The next day, some misinformed advisors spend more time lifting up Rishi's, what's her name? Liz Truss's podium and moving it to one side and bringing in Rishi Sunak. That's more important. That lectern is more important than the speaker. He comes up, stands behind it, and again delivers a wooden speech full of jargon and words that he thinks is going to help this country have trust and faith in him to lead us. And he lost a nation. He completely lost a nation. And the reason why he lost a nation is because he didn't take the time to think about what he wanted to say as a human being. How, as a leader, did he want to connect with us all, we're all here going, this country is in crisis. Our political system at the moment is a mess and we don't know what they are doing with our country. We needed someone to say, I, as a leader, as a human being, connect with you in this way, and this is what I'm going to do. You couldn't do it. Jump forward to the beginning of this year, actually only about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Jacinda Ardern reads from a piece of paper her own words as she leaves her exit speech. She reads this to the world. Remember, our leaders have a global voice. This is global marketing for our country. It's not going so well for us right now, but it's a global voice. It's a powerful tool, okay? She stands there as a human being, full of emotion. She's actually crying, her voice is cracking, okay? She speaks vulnerably and openly about who she is as a person, and reflects on how she thought she led. And she represents a certain type of human being in this world. Many of us, male and female. And the conversation we had on Radio 5 Live about her was very different because it was true. So George W. Bush was on the same call as me on that particular programme. A speechwriter for George W. Bush was on the call that night. And she did an awful lot of name dropping, and she spoke about how important it was to write a good speech. She also said, although I'm a speechwriter, I can see how important it is for a leader to write their own speech. This is an example of it. Jacinda Ardern took her own self, her own emotions, her vulnerability, and she connected with the world emotionally, and we will remember it. And it changes hearts and minds. That's what leadership is. Now, if you want to lead your business into success, you need to try and do the same thing, whether it be in just a small way, your small way. The same applies. Yeah? Okay, that was a bit of a speech. Okay, it's true though, it's true. You know, we find our tribe if we're open and honest and connect emotionally. And those long-term relationships create successful business for us. Yeah, they do. Okay, so let's move on. Practice. Practice, practice. Once you've written your 650 words, okay, and figured out how they're going to match with your slides, you need to practice. Okay, you need to stand in front of people and say these words out loud. Okay, so this is on Friday. Who's got their pitch prepared? It's not prepared? It's Wednesday. You have.
Yes.
So have you got the right amount of words? You got it down to 5 minutes?
That was the thing I was struggling with, because I can talk through. So narrowing it down whilst hitting all the points with it, because we were sent an email to hit like 7 points and always hit them. And I was really struggling to hit those points, but in a concise manner.
Yeah.
And try and like get all the words out and do it so it still feels very professional, but also it's got that emotion behind it. Because it's like it's my baby, it's my business. And like I want it to seem impressive.
Yeah. The emotional bit, I think it's really useful to think about how you can get emotional and then park it and get on with business.
Yeah.
Because you've got an audience that wants that. And the way to get that is to talk about why you set it up, why it's important to you in accordance with your values. Usually there's a personal story as to why you set it up and how setting up this business contributes to your end life goals. And you can do that in a sentence or two. You can do it in 30 seconds. That helps people go, oh, I've got a really good idea of who you are, why you're doing this. I like it. Good. I trust you. Then get on with the business. Yeah. So in a 5-minute pitch, you don't need to spend a lot of time talking about yourself and getting too emotional, but you do need to do it. Yeah. You need to open up a bit so people know who you are and why it's important to you. Yeah. If they do know why it's important to you, they can gauge your resilience as well, because when it all goes wrong and gets really, really tough, they want to know that you're still going to take their investment and run with it regardless. And if it's that important to you, then they've got a good idea that you will. So don't worry about the fact that you kind of keep going backwards and forwards and around the houses and the iterations. Have you stood up and said it out loud?
Yeah, so I did it last night in front of my partner at home.
Yeah.
And it came to about like 10, 11
Yeah.
minutes. So it was just like one of those things of just like narrowing it down and everything like that, and not putting too much information on the slides, and like just being me and not relying on a presentation almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, but still having that information.
Yeah. So you want to be thinking, all of you, you want to be thinking to yourselves, if all the electrics went down, can I still deliver this? So the slides are the least important thing. Okay. Yeah. When you say 10, 11 minutes, it is 5 minutes that you're doing on Friday. Yeah. So you've got to halve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So a great thing to do is, if you have any questions about this, I have it for you on a handout, which I'm happy to share with you later. If you are interested in investing with me, I have the figures which I can share with you later on. These things are really great because then it shaves off minutes. Yeah. They will want to know who you are, why you set up your business, what you currently do in your business, what you aim to do next, and how you aim to scale. So how you aim to scale up, or how you or remain sustainable. So how will you keep going? And what will you do with the money that they give you? Where will it go? What will it lead to? It's great to have an amount. If it's money, it's great to have an amount in your mind and to show why you want that amount and where that money will go. Yeah. Sometimes an investor will say, what do you want in return? To me, that's a discussion to have after the pitch if they are interested in investing. So you can say, this is what I'm after, this is how I will use the money. If you are interested in investing with me, I'd be really happy to share with you how you will get a return on your investment. You don't necessarily have to share that in your presentation. Yeah. Also, if you don't want to, you don't have to share specific figures. Okay, So if you're not up for doing that, you could say, I'm happy to share the exact figures with any investor who is interested in investing with me. Yeah, because you don't have to share that with a room full of people who you know are never going to invest. Yeah. Why would you do that? You don't have to. Yeah. Percentages are really great. Yeah. So you could say my average turnover is this. I aim to grow by such and such percent. So you're not getting too much into the numbers, but make sure you've got that information. You know what it is. So if they ask you afterwards, you can answer it. Yeah. If you're in a situation like this happened to somebody in a pitching workshop that I was helping at. One of the investors said, so exactly what is your turnover right now? She said, if it's all right with you, I'll share that with you later because I'm not comfortable sharing that with the room. And I think that was great. Yeah, especially if it's a business where you're a solopreneur like me, that's your income. So yeah, so you don't necessarily want to be sharing that with everyone. Yeah, and as much as people say, oh yeah, there's no stigma here, there is a stigma. Like sometimes I'll tell people my turnover and they'll go, wow. I tell other people and they go, that's not enough. I'm thinking, well, that's because you're a corporation with 500 people in your team. You know, go away, have a conversation with somebody else. Yeah. So know your own value. Don't worry about what anybody else says, but you don't have to put yourself in a vulnerable situation with anyone other than talking about how you feel. That is important. Yeah. Yeah, so you practiced in front of your boyfriend, it got to 10, 11 words, right. The next thing to do is to shave that down. Do a little bit of time on your own, everyone. So record it into your camera. Yeah, just pop your camera up and record yourself. Nobody likes to see themselves, but it's a brilliant way of getting immediate feedback. So you can think to yourself, I said, I speak too quickly because I'm trying to squeeze in too much information. As few words as possible. Going into 600, 650, you'll be fine. More than that's too much. So in your draft, look at your word count. Yeah, simple. Stick to the framework. This is going to give you confidence in getting a perfect pitch. Yeah. Pick it into camera. See straight away all of your fidgets, all of the things that you do. Understand it. Know it. See how many times your eyes shift to the slide. Yeah. Don't cling on to this as your comfort blanket because it makes you look like you know nothing about your own business. You know everything about your business. You created the flipping slides. Yeah, they've come from you. So if the slides aren't there, you should still be able to speak about your business. Don't cling on to this. But you'll be surprised when you look at yourself on video, you'll see yourself doing things like. So what I think is just when you take a break from the audience, you go, let me get my eyes away from you for just 1 minute. Let me look at the floor or look at the sky or over here. So while you don't do anything to avoid contact, you've got to reverse that. Yeah. Make as much eye contact as you can. Be in the room with these people. Connect with them. Yeah, as much as you possibly can. So then I would go to somebody who is not your boyfriend and will absolutely challenge you. So think of somebody like on the course, a coach, an advisor, somebody else who has a business, and say, can you just listen to this? I have done this loads, okay? Got a bit annoying after a while because every single business person I spoke to came back with different feedback, which meant that my pitch kept changing. But it's useful, it's really, really useful, okay? Get as much feedback as you possibly can. It's the quickest way to perfect your pitch. Don't sit there on your own going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Get your rough draft together, just get the words out, get saying, get feedback, change it accordingly. Yeah? Okay. What you want to be looking at when you look back at that recording of yourself is it nice and slow? You've got the right word count, you should be able to pace it out. Okay. Pace is so important. Pace is so important, okay? What you want is for the listener to be right alongside you on the words. They need to be with you, hearing the words in the moment as you speak and processing it. Okay? If they're being kind, they're still processing something else and they're missing out what's happening in the moment. Okay? Another great thing to do is to respect your full stops. Okay? Usually, it's a space for you to breathe and for the thought to land in the ear of the listener. Yeah? Let them really, really hear and process what you've just said. Both of you take a breath and then move on. It's simple. What I do with all of my speeches is I annotate them. So where there is a full stop, I put a big line. So as I'm looking and doing the work and I'm learning my speech, I go, there is a massive pause. It's just a reminder. It's a promotion of self-awareness for me. Even though I know it, I still want to make sure that I'm doing it. Okay? So your pace is really, really, really important. If anyone struggles with anxiety and nerves around speaking in public, a great way to make sure that your pace is monitored and that your state is managed is through breath. Now, I've actually got a whole handout on managing anxiety, and you're very welcome to contact me and I can share it where you can get hold of that. We can maybe even have a look at the breathing exercise if there's a little bit of time and you want to do it today. Pitch. Now, it's not your actual pitch, it's the sound of your voice. Okay, so if you're gonna, okay, who's had a teacher or a lecturer that talks with a monotone voice? Anyone? Yeah, yeah, okay. Did you get a bit bored? Did you get tired? Did you switch off? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Okay. So this is all human stuff. So if the ear hears the same sound over and over again, the ear starts to go, oh, don't worry. This isn't important. This is just words to lull you into being in a nice, relaxed state so that you get nice sleep. Yeah. Not your fault. If the ear hears lots of different sounds and at different paces and at different volumes, the ear is going, oh my God, that's a new piece of information. Oh, and another one. Oh, okay, we've got to be in the room because we might miss something really, really important and exciting. Okay. So that change in pitch, in sound, is key to making sure that your audience stays engaged. All right. Now, actually, I will show you. So say you've got this. For those of you at home, if you can't see my picture, it says, I love you very much. Okay. I'm going to get a different colour pen just because I'm blue, really, because it's going to change your experience that much. Okay. And at the end here, we've got a full stop. So right now we're just looking, this is my speaker training. Right now we're looking at one sentence with a full stop. We're going to mark in here where to breathe. I've already mentioned that, haven't I, in terms of pace. The first place that you breathe is here. Okay? Second place you're going to breathe is there because you've got a full stop. So mark it in. Then you're going to think to yourself, okay, in my presentation, which are the most important words? Which words really need to stand out and land in the ear of the listener so that they remember what I'm saying? They remember the key things, okay? So for some of you, you might go, it's love. Somebody else might say, oh, well, for me, it would be you, specifically you. I want you to remember I love you, yeah? So it might be that. But I'm just going to underline love. So when I underline love, I'm going, right, this is the word I emphasize. So we're looking at emphasis. Now you can emphasize it by giving it space. So I love you very much. You might give it volume. I love you very much. Might change the pitch. I love you very much. I love you very much. You can play around with that pitch all you want. Okay, you can do it however you want as well. But what we're talking about is emphasis here. The minute we start to emphasize our words in whatever way we do, we start to create light and shade in our language. And this is when the ear gets interested. Yeah. Another really, really cool thing you can do is you can annotate your pitch by using just a few arrows like this. Okay, now, English speakers are very boring, okay? They tend to, in their sentences, they go, I love you very much. So very much trails off and goes down a hill somewhere. It loses energy and it's usually quieter. So we English geniuses are actually saying the end of every sentence is boring, uninteresting, and therefore not worth you listening to. So stupid. What we've got to do is consider that we need our energy to go right to the end of the line, because the sentence isn't over until it's over. Yeah. And to get the full sense of a line, to get the full meaning of what we're saying, we need to have energy going right through to the end of the line, unless we want to direct our audience otherwise. Okay. If we want them to feel really positive about the information that we're giving, then we'll do an upward arrow, because we will go up at the end of the line. I love you very much. Yeah. If we want them to feel relaxed or sleepy or a little bit negative about this statement, we might go, I love you very much. Yeah. If we want to make it a statement, we have got a straight line. So we're going to stay on the same note with the same energy. I love you very much. Yeah. But if we do that, again, we're building our self-awareness around how we speak, and we are creating light and shade in our sentences. I can't tell you like how important this is. It's like a covert action, you know, because what we're doing is keeping the human ear tuned in to what we're saying. So all you guys can fight it as much as you want, but as long as I put light and shade into what I'm saying and I'm changing space and I'm saying animated, you're going to give me your attention. Yeah, or more so than you would if I just stood here and went, let's talk about pitching. Yeah, okay. This is really cool stuff. All right. Now, I actually gave you the theatrical version there. So if you're doing it to camera, you want to be thinking about drilling this down and doing it in a small box, but I'm not going to give you media training today. That's for another day. Okay, right. So projection, I've given loads of projection today. You do need to project your voice. Now, I'm classically trained in speaking and singing, and I breathe to support my voice so that it can go a long way, and it can go on for hours. For me, this is really, really important. If I'm speaking in public, I want to know that I can turn up and speak to a massive room without a microphone, because I still want to be able to do my job and deliver what is expected of me, even if all the electrics go down. Okay, that's how important it is to me. In terms of how I apply it to you and your needs, you want to always be thinking about being able to play to the space. Yeah. So in a room like this, I'm speaking and making sure. And by the way, I can hear that my voice is bouncing off the walls and the glass. Okay, so I've got reverberation and resonance to my voice. I know this, right? I'm thinking, how do I play to this space and make sure everyone hears me? If I was doing one-to-one in a room, my voice would come down because I'd be playing to that space. Really, really think about that. Play to your audience and the size of your space. It's actually really respectful to do so. Think about it like that. So if you're speaking really quietly, but you've got a room full of people, actually, all you're doing is saying, I don't care whether you can hear me or not. And I know that might sound harsh. I'm not concerned with how nervous you are, how anxious you are, how worried you are about whether you're going to go wrong. When you're there doing a pitch, none of those things are important. What is important is that everybody in the room hears you. The message, the pitch, is more important than you in that situation. Project your voice. Again, breathing really helps with that. We can look at this breathing exercise at the end if there is time, or you can access the information from me later. Okay, projection is important. Make sure you speak loud. Check that everyone in the room can hear you. It's polite and necessary. Okay, pause. So I've already talked about pause. These are your lines for your pausing. Every full stop, you should be pausing, allowing the thought to land, allowing your audience to formulate questions. Be curious, stay interested. Now I'm going to pause. There is stillness. And in stillness, there is power. Okay? So when my first speaker lady came to me and said, I can't command a room, I can't raise my voice, I said, the first thing you're going to do is not raise your voice. You're going to stand still. And you're going to be quiet until everybody is engaged and giving you their attention. And then you're going to speak and project your voice. The first thing you're going to do is be still. There is so much power in it. Okay? So when you find yourself overperforming through anxiety and too much adrenaline and energy, think to yourself, bring all of that down, root yourself, send your energy down through your feet and out through the floor, create some stillness. Take a deep breath and then go. Okay, so in that pause, find your stillness. It will help everybody else to stay calm and tune into what you have to say. Okay, passion. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm quite passionate about what I do. It's really, really important. Okay, I make no excuses for being so passionate about all the things that I teach and all of the information that I want to give you. Okay, it might be that I'm too passionate for some people. Good, they can go to a different teacher. I'm really, really passionate about what I do, and I will be for as long as I decide I want to do it. If you have a business and you are passionate about its success, if you are passionate about making an impact in other people's lives, if you are passionate about creating a product which you know will change the world, you have to show it. You must express it. Passion wins hearts and minds. You have all of the facts, all of the information. You have a structure, you have the words, you have the slides. The last thing you need is the icing on the cake, your passion. Remember, if an investor has money to invest in you, they probably earned it. They earned that money. It's come from their passion, their hard work. Think about whether they want to spend their hard-earned cash on you. They want to invest it on you. They want to know that you're passionate and prepared to work hard with their investment. They need to see it in you. Yeah? Okay. What we're going to do, we've got 10 minutes left, is I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to open the floor for questions because I've just gone through a load of stuff there and you've listened so differently. So anybody have any questions for me? Yeah.
We get to do like a summary.
Brilliant. Yeah.
What kind of stuff should we include apart from just a summary? So obviously, summaries on the text on the whole page. Should we be including anything on there like any charts and messages of PowerPoint or should anything specifically on that?
I don't what your presentation is going to be, so I don't know specifically what should be on your handout. But I said to you before, if you find that you've got too many words and there's too much finer detail, extract that and put that on your handout. So, for example, if you would like to know how I go from this figure to that figure in greater detail, it's in the handout. Yeah. I have X amount of feedback on the work I did on this subject. Some of that feedback is on the handout, but you can also go to my LinkedIn and see all the recommendations. But yeah, so you can't go on and on and on and on about that kind of stuff. They need to know the absolutely essential points in the presentation, and the rest can go on. Yeah. Anything else?
It's really interesting we were talking about handouts here, because I had to do this performance density for my module. And it was 20 minutes, and it was all about all the scholarship and academic research we had done. I was like, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to remember all of that. So I did end up reading it from a script, basically, and doing the PowerPoint slides. But I did say at the start, I can't read it from the script because there's just too much information to go through. But I did do the handouts, and I think that helped. But because there was not really any time to think about all of this, because there was just so much information we had to go through to explain it all, this scholarship related to what we were doing, we wanted to do individually, as practitioners. I was just getting through the things as quickly as possible, and I did it over time, but I got my marks and it was fine. But I think for the next time, I'd really, if I did have enough time, go through what I was saying and think about stopping and having moments of stillness, because there's just a temptation to say more information, more information, more information. Luckily, I don't have to do that in a bench, but
I think every single time you speak,
never had time to think about.
every single time you think about having to speak in public, think about how the least amount you can say in the amount of time that you've got. Reducing to get to the essence. Because really, essentially, that's all these people have come to hear. Yeah. Actually, I should have said, when you practice and rehearse your pitch, you want to be thinking about taking that 600 words, whatever, and bullet pointing it. So if you've got 5 slides, 6 slides, they can act as your bullet point. Okay. And rehearse it as much as possible. People say to me, I never write my speeches, because if I write my speech, then I worry about having to stick to it word to word, and then I panic and it all goes wrong, so I never write my speech. And I think, you never wrote it in the first place, so you're never really clear on what you actually wanted to say. I don't agree with it. Write down exactly what you want to say, fine tune it, get clarity on it, know the words and sentences that you want to use, practice like crazy so that you no longer know the words anymore. That's a phrase, by the way, in acting. You learn it until you no longer know them. So they roll off the tongue as if for the first time. Yeah. Now, when it comes, you've done that work and you've got those bullet points, you must trust yourself that you know your information. It's your own information. They are your words. Okay. If you don't say it word for word, nobody is going to come and go, well, you missed out that sentence. You didn't say that word. What they are going to hear, essentially, is a very well structured and carefully planned out presentation, and they will appreciate it. They'll go, they've really thought about that. They've thought about the content. They've thought about what they want to say and the points they want to get across. If it's not exactly the same as what you wrote down by this point, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that you did the work in the first place to get clarity in your own mind. There are far too many excuses about, trying to avoid actually doing the table work. It's so important. So important. And if it matters to you, you will do it. If you think, well, it doesn't matter, I'll be a little bit woolly. It doesn't matter enough. If you think, oh no, I'm fine, I'm confident. I do this so many times. I hear that a lot as well. I hear a lot of leaders saying, I do this all the time. I don't need to plan anymore. And their speeches are really boring because they haven't thought about putting it in elements that are really, really interesting and the facts that people really, really want to hear. They just haven't thought about it. They haven't taken the time, and it's disrespectful.
Do you see that at the end of the speech? Well, that would be the one.
I've never done that, except with my clients. So if they rehearse with me, they've got something really important, I go, it's good, it's also really boring, so what else can we do? And then we get into the technicalities, we're thinking about story arcs and where the drama bit goes and where the negative and the positive and all of that, the emotion, all of that goes. But that's for another day. It's not for your 5-minute pitch. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing I want to say to you is, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay, the more you worry about it, the worse it's going to get. The more planning and preparation and practice you do, the more you're going to iron it out organically. Okay, you will say it less and less the more you practice because you haven't written them in. Okay, I think in certain contexts, in certain modes of speech and presentation, your language needs to be conversational. Okay, so when you want to connect with an audience, when you want to feel aligned with them and increase your acuity so that you're building relationships with your audience and there's a to and fro thing, you need to be conversational and you need to use your natural way of speaking. Yeah. Now, if you go back to leaders who connect really well, if you look at Barack Obama, world-class leader, world-class speaker, when he's speaking, he consciously makes the sentences really long. He takes massive breaths, by the way, really long and slow and lyrical to relax everybody who listens. So even when he's delivering bad news that people don't want to hear, he's going, it's okay. You're in safe hands. And he's got this beautiful voice. It's like food, yeah? And he's not speaking to you like, I'm perfect. I say no ums or ahs, and everything is perfect. He doesn't do that. He's connecting as a human being. In a pitch, connecting as a human being. You don't have someone like me at the back going, she said, okay? And really, you're in the dark ages if you're still deciding whether you're going to invest in a person for that reason or not. I do think you can improve it and you should try to do that. But the more you make it an issue for yourself, the worse it's going to get. And you're going to create an anxiety over that. There's no need. Just write what you want to say and practice that. And organically, these things will get ironed out. Don't get in your head too much about that. It's a small thing. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a very technical, very like difficult to explain in general how it works and all of that to people who don't know about technology. And so other than using a lot of text, I don't know how to explain my idea. And I know my slides cannot have a lot of text, so I don't know how to broaden it.
You're not going to like my answer.
Yeah.
You need to simplify it for this 5-minute pitch. Okay. So have it in your head. Yes, it's very complicated. And I have all of the answers.
Yeah.
This complex answer is over here somewhere, but it's not in my 5-minute pitch because what they need to hear right now is this. Yeah, I know you don't want to hear that.
No.
Just give the simple information. And just as a note for you, okay, I don't know if you know this, but I work with foreign speakers as well. So I was recently over in Paris working with French judges and barristers to help them deliver their speeches in the English language to a multinational audience. So as speakers, all of the time we want to be thinking, how can our audience hear every single word we have to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So if English is your second language, which obviously yours is it your second or third? It wasn't. Third, yeah. So you're the genius, I'm the idiot, so I can hear you speaking English. Right, okay, brilliant. What you need to do is slow down even more and just make sure that every single word is separated. This is really key. Yeah. So what we want to imagine is, say I'm an English speaker and I've got someone over there who is from Germany and somebody over there who is from Thailand. Okay. They both speak great English, but still they're translating my English language. If I don't separate my words like I'm doing right now, they could hear something like, oh, well, you know, when, and the person over there from Germany is going, what is oh, when, you know, when? Is that one word or is that three? And the person over there is going, what is oh, yeah, yeah? What is that? But they'll both hear, oh, you know when. Oh, you know when. So you need to separate it even more. So the English listeners are listening to you with the accent and they're thinking, oh, I missed that little bit. And I think that was really important and I didn't want to miss it. So you need to think for your audience, right, I'm just going to slow this down a little bit for you. And if you're conscious of it, it's great to flag it up and go, so English is my third language.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that you hear every little bit of information that I'm giving you today. So I'm going to pace myself and slow everything down. If for any reason you need to hear something again, please raise your hand and I'll be happy to say it again for you. Yeah. Own it. Own it. Don't just think you can gloss over it and it won't be an issue, because often it is. And I'm saying it as bluntly as I possibly can. It's true. Yeah. Yeah, and I understand absolutely everything that you're saying, but it's just a point that I want everyone to take away with them. Yeah.
Actually, useful because in my opinion, you want to do something that's international. And there are people that obviously are from overseas.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything is clear.
Yeah.
Because it will relate to what I want to do. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and a way to test that is if you record yourself on your phone and listen back, you can hear when you're stringing words together. It's another thing that we do in the English language. Most of us speak in triplets of three. I better wrap up because it's 12. One last question from anyone? Burning question? Okay, so this is my website. If you go to my website, you will see a bit about me. You will see how I can help you. You will see the testimonials and some of the projects that I've been involved with recently. You will see how you can book a free session with me for 15 to 20 minutes. So if you want to ask any questions, you can do that. You can also contact me on the contact page. It's all there on the website. All you've got to do is go to audriewoodhouse.com. It's not like you have to upset your brain to figure out what my website address is. It's just audriewoodhouse.com. Okay. This is there for you to scan right now. This is how you connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have enjoyed the session today and you want to leave a response, a photograph, anything like that on LinkedIn, I'd be really grateful if you did that. You can also leave recommendations on my site as well. But this is a great place for you to stay in contact with me and hear all of the information I give out about speaking and some of the projects. I also, on the website here where it says contact me, have a newsletter. Every 2 weeks I send out a newsletter with speaking tips and information about future workshops. Speaking tips are free, so you can do that. Also on my website, there is an area for you to go in and access the handouts that I was talking about earlier. These are some sessions coming up in the summer, which you can attend if you want to. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. You can have your free session with me for 20 minutes and have a chat anyway. Okay. Thank you very much for today. I wish you lots of luck on Friday. I was hoping to come and hear these speeches, but unfortunately I've been booked to go and speak somewhere else. I know you'll be brilliant. I invite you to stay in contact with me. If you have to pitch in the future and you've got any questions and you want some support, please feel free to get in touch. And that also counts for you guys at home. Thank you very much for having me. I'm going to hang around for a few minutes while I pack away. Please come and see me and ask me any questions if you were too worried about asking me in person. Thank you very much.